MedBix webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Welcome to the MedBix webcast. This is Raman Annamaraju. I'm the host. No, I'm not Albert Einstein. Maybe my guest is. He has a distinguished credentials. I used to own an imaging diagnostic center, radiology diagnostic center in 1980s. At the time, no one, even non-physicians, thought of opening MRI center or CT scan center or technology, X-rays. I'm one of the first few guys, non-physicians, opened a imaging center in the country. I provided a care for those really underserved areas. People who have not seen. I used to send ultrasound to people in the remote parts of Georgia. I used to do that, and then at the time I used it the first time. I sent it through modem. Then you can guess me how old I am. I used to send it through modem all the reports. So all the doctors come and watch. How did you do that? Isn't it amazing for them sending the reports by modem? Usually the transcriptionist, all these millennials don't have no clue. The transcriptionist come, pick it up, and then take it home and prescribe, and then send it and bring it, drop it off. It is a big process. That's all eliminated through modem. That's a very interesting how the advances in technology and the science itself is a tremendous. Now radiology went on far ahead. Radiology as a tool, it is a diagnosis and treatment, is a precise treatment it provides. You don't have to do surgery. In the previous old age times, we used to do surgery. Without doing surgery, you can see inside the body. That is the power of the radiology. That you don't. I'm going to talk about the doctors from the past and 10th century onwards, what they did. It's going to be a fascinating talk. But let me talk about the guest. The guest I'm going to bring is Dr. Suresh Mukherji. He's joining from Indianapolis. I went to school in actually Ball State, so I'm familiar with Indiana. I love Indiana. But he's also went to school in Harvard, and he was telling me just now he met Dr. Evan Alexander III at the time. I interviewed Dr. Alexander a few times here on the show. So Dr. Suresh Mukherji is a board certified radiologist and professor of radiology and radiation oncology. I didn't see too many. I saw that a long time ago. Now still that position, both radiology and radiation oncology, is not too many people. So highly qualified, distinguished professor. Let me bring him. He's the head of the head and neck scan center, the head and neck cancer center. He is the head. So let me bring to the table Dr. Suresh Mukherji joining from Indianapolis, professor of radiology. Welcome, Dr. Mukherji.
Hey, Ramana, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly well.
Excellent.
So tell us, Dr. Mukherji, I know I gave you your qualifications. Just give a rundown a little bit about your background, what you did, the up to now. What is your educational qualifications, and where did you do your residency? Just a short bio.
Sure. Yeah, well, it's great to be here. I think this is the third time I've had a chance to be interviewed by MedBrix. So I think it was a few years ago we did the first one, and it's been great to see how the platform has evolved, how the show has evolved, and sort of how you've evolved as a speaker and a leader. So congratulations to everything that you've accomplished and how this is continuing to evolve.
Thank you. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. I went to undergraduate at Duke University, and unfortunately, I graduated in the last century. So I hate to say that, but it was actually the last century now. So I graduated from undergrad in 1983, and at that time I was a dual major in zoology because I was pre-med at the time, but also in economics. I think back then there weren't too many of us that really were doing medicine and had an interest in business and economics at the time. So it was a bit of an unusual combination, but I think over time, for me, it's been the right decision because I think we all realize that over time, medicine has become a business. And, back 30, 40 years ago, there was more purity. But now, obviously, it's much more complex.
Where did you go to school? Radiology, what residency? Where did you do residency in radiology?
Sure. Yeah, so I went to medical school at Georgetown, and then I did my residency at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, and that's where I remember seeing Eben Alexander and Jay Leffler, who was a radiation oncologist, and Eben being a neurosurgeon. Every Monday morning, they would come into the neuroradiology reading room, and they would do their contouring and their targeting for stereotactic radiosurgery. At that time, I think it was for metastases. So that's where he and I overlapped for a while. And I know many people that I ran into senior than me knew his father. His father was a very famous neurosurgeon as well. So then after the Brigham, I did my neuroradiology 2-year fellowship at University of Florida. And after University of Florida, I was assistant and then a tenure professor at University of North Carolina. And then I became division director of neuroradiology at University of Michigan. And then for a while, I was chair at Michigan State University. And then I'm not getting any younger. We decided to move to Indianapolis about 4 years ago based on my wife's position. So now I'm in Indianapolis. I work in a community-facing group 2 days a week, but I'm a professor of radiology at University of Illinois and University of Louisville, and a professor of radiation oncology at the Robert Wood Johnson School of Medicine. And then I have an ENT faculty position at Michigan State University. So I spend 2 days doing clinical work. I see patients half day a week. And then I do 2.5 days with my academic work. And then on top of that, I've spent I received my MBA when I was 49. And I've spent a fair amount of my time working in public policy at both the state and the federal level. And also been, quite involved with the healthcare purchasers. So over the last 5 to 6 years, I'm on the Medical Director Advisory Committee for the National Alliance of Healthcare Purchasers and Payers. And then I'm the medical director for the Kentuckiana Healthcare Collaborative, the Economic Alliance in Michigan, and most recently the Midwest Business Group, the Mid-Atlantic Group on healthcare.
Nothing better than you are talking about the purchased healthcare, directed healthcare. You are the part of the policy maker there. So one of the policy. So tell us a little bit about yeah. There is a echo coming up. If you don't mind, there is a. Okay. So the policy, the people come to the radiology centers. They want to get a scan done, and they pay. Sometimes what happens, Medicare government takes care of them, but the private pay. For example, I'm in Silicon Valley. A lot of them have a HSA health savings account. They wanted to use that account. A lot of technology people, young people, they got this problem. They go to the mountain climbing. They wanted to hiking, and they get hurt there. They break their knees, so whatever it is. They come to they want to get X-ray done or CT scan done or MRI. So what is they have HSA account. They don't even know how to use it sometimes. So tell us a little bit about their power to buy this procedure. They can shop around, purchase a directed healthcare. What is the theme behind the purchase a directed healthcare, Dr. Mukherjee?
Well, the Purchase Director Healthcare is the ability for individual patients to become more knowledgeable about the healthcare market and the prices that they're paying. So anytime we purchase something, we want to, basically in almost any other part of our life, if we purchase a good or a service, then we know exactly what we're paying for. So for instance, if you go to the grocery store, you know exactly what you're paying for a loaf of bread, you know exactly what you're paying for a gallon of milk. But unfortunately, when it comes to our healthcare system, there's very little true transparency regarding the price that we're purchasing for an important service like our healthcare. So the best analogy that I could give, um, in general, if you went and you bought a car, let's say you bought a nice car like a Ferrari, you know you would pay for the car, you know you would pay for the wheels, you know you would pay for the tires. Well, oftentimes what happens in healthcare is that you'll end up going and you'll have some type of surgery performed, God forbid, or you're admitted to the hospital, and you think that you've just bought the Ferrari. But all of a sudden they'll say, well, you bought the Ferrari, but oh, by the way, now you have to pay for the wheels because the wheels were actually made by somebody else. Oh, you paid for the wheels. Well, then you have to pay for the tires because the tires are made by somebody else. Oh, by the way, now you have to pay for, the upholstery or something like that. So the point is in
It's a
health,
ridiculous, yeah.
yeah, in healthcare, you think you're not really buying the whole system, but instead, what ends up happening is that different individuals involved, if you have a surgery or if you're in the hospital, end up giving you different bills. So, for instance, if you have a surgery, oftentimes people say, "Well, I got a bill for the facility." Well, that they'll bill you for where you actually had your procedure done. Then you get the surgeon's bill. Then you get the anesthesiologist bill, etc. So the whole premise where we're going with this, with in healthcare in general, is that there's very little understanding as to the total cost for what you will be paying to have a specific service done. So when it comes to HSAs, what HSAs are used for is it allows you to take money tax-free from your own paycheck or potentially from your employer, and it's put into a special
Dr.
account.
Mukherjee, can you explain what HSA is? A lot of people may not know
Yeah,
the word.
HSA is your health services account, and there are different names for this too. But the bottom line is that you can take money from your paycheck, and then you can take it out of it and put it tax free into an account that can only be used to pay for your healthcare services. So it's very similar to your 401k or a 403b. So if you're working at a for-profit or not-for-profit, you can take money every month, pre-tax dollars, and put it towards your retirement. This HSA, this health services account, is the same thing. You can take a certain amount of money pre-tax, put into an account either with your employer or maybe with Fidelity or Morgan Stanley or whoever that you use. And then if you have some type of medical problem, if you want to pay for a medication, if you want to, some place will allow you to do it for dentists, for dental services. If you end up going into the hospital, you can take that amount of money and pay for that specific medical service.
So you pay through the HSA account. That's what the HSA account, the purchaser director. So the consumer, the employee has the fullest option. He has the control. Not like unfortunately that was not the case before. As you are comparing the buying a car parts separate by one. Explain. Keep continue on that thought process, Dr. Mukherjee.
Well, what the HSA does, it allows you to pay for some of your costs that you would normally have to pay. So let's say if you had money in a regular savings account and you had to have some type of procedure done. What could happen is that you would have to take your money from your savings account, pay for that part of your procedure that wasn't covered by insurance. So, but that money in your savings account that you normally have is taxable, but because that comes from your income. What the HSA does, it allows you to take dollars that are paid from you by your employer and automatically put that into a separate account that's pre-tax. So let's just say if your tax rate, for argument's sake, was 30%. So if it went into your savings account and that was income, basically you would take $1, be taxed at 30%, and you'd have 70 cents that was available to pay for your hospital procedure. But what an HSA does, it allows you to take $1 from your income, put that dollar in your HSA, and use that full dollar to pay for your services. So it's actually, you're saving that tax. You're actually getting 30% more than you would normally get than if you didn't do that. So that's the way
Excellent.
the HSAs work.
Excellent explanation. That is good. So, purchaser now you said that employer, the purchaser directed healthcare means either consumer directed healthcare or purchaser. It's like a Walmart or IBM or Walmart or IBM or technology, Google. They buy the healthcare in a way such that they purchase the directed healthcare, right, doctor? So the explain a little bit about the employee kind of options available for employers.
Right. So that's a great question, and it gets into an important concept and something that I've had to learn about over the last, 10 to 15 years. So what we've been talking about is the individual consumer purchasing their healthcare. So for instance, if you got sick or I got sick and then I would have to go see my doctor, I would essentially purchase goods and services for myself. But now what you have to do is go to the next level up. And that's, let's just say if you owned a company. So now, Rahman, if you own a company, if you have 100 employees working for you, one of the big benefits that you have as a company is that you purchase healthcare for your employees. So one of the biggest challenges, I think people know this, back in 2009 when the auto industry, went under, when GM had challenges and Ford had challenges and Chrysler had challenges that need to be bailed out. A lot of that was driven by the fact that they were spending more money on healthcare than they were on steel. So the point is that these companies then have to purchase healthcare for their employees from different healthcare providers. And oftentimes they have to contract with insurance companies, or they have to do direct contracting with different places that provide healthcare. So for instance, what you mentioned, Walmart, what Walmart offers is that it's a massive company. So there are certain services that are high cost services. Let's say you need a knee replacement. Let's say you need spine surgery. Let's say if you have cancer. And you can go down the line, cardiac care. So what Walmart offers is they can say, okay, to their employees, they will purchase these services if they have cancer, if they need spine surgery or knee surgery. And they will say to the employees, we will pay 80% of your total cost. And then you as the employees have to pay 20%. Or they can say, we've identified what we think is in center of excellence. And if you have your cancer care done, if you have your spine surgery done, if you have your knee surgery done, we will create a concierge service. We will fly you and a family member to one of our centers of excellence, and you can have your surgery or treatment done there at zero cost to you. Because in the long run, they feel that some of these centers of excellence actually save them money, as opposed to you going to your local hospital or your own place. And even though you would have to pay a little bit more, some people will choose that because it's closer to home. So those are two different strategies that companies use to purchase healthcare services for their employees. So we've sort of switched our frame when now we're talking about healthcare purchasers at the company level.
That is a beautiful explanation that you explained very well. That's so your center of excellence network, that the employer selects certain designated places, designated hospitals, providers. That is a center of excellence, right? That what you mean by center of excellence network.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so if there is a center of excellence network, are there any studies done? These are really works. They are very effective. Do you have any peer-reviewed studies done, Dr. Mukherjee?
Yeah, so I don't know if there's peer reviews, but I know that this is out there, and I know it's in the world of Google, the Google sphere, if you will, because I've used this in my talk. But there's this quote by someone, I think her name is Lisa Woods, who's the head of, I think, healthcare benefits for Walmart. And the point that they're making through the Center of Excellence is that some of these procedures that are performed, especially elective procedures, so let's say knee replacements or spine surgeries, what she has been quoted as saying is that about almost 50% of these spine surgeries are unnecessary because these patients, either their MRI scans were misinterpreted, or I shouldn't say misinterpreted, a different interpretation, and they weren't really given the care that they need. So I know, being a neuroradiologist, I can't tell you how many, I've had back surgery myself. And I had back surgery, and then I'll talk to other colleagues who want surgery. And I always say, if you're going to have back surgery, you have to make sure that the symptoms that you're having can be completely alleviated by what your MRI shows and the surgery you're having. So for me, I had pain running down a leg. I saw where the herniation was. My surgeon went in and skillfully resected my disc herniation, and then I was better. But on the other hand, what happens oftentimes is that patients with unexplained or non-specific back pain end up having fusions. And oftentimes, even after the fusions are done, and they're very expensive, the patients still continue to have pain after that fusion. So there was no relief in that pain. And that's what going to a center of excellence model does, because you'll have a team of doctors reviewing all of your studies, and they will be able to make a thoughtful decision whether or not the type of option that you have, whether it's surgical or not, will cure your pain. Because as we all know in the real world, and I'm not saying that this is prevalent, but on occasion, sometimes surgeries may be performed at times that may not be in the best interest of the patient, because some of these spine surgeries are pretty financially lucrative, both for the hospital systems and the providers.
So purchased healthcare, directed healthcare is an interesting, very new, relatively new concept, and it is interesting concept. Do you think we should extend this to beyond the HSA to including the Medicare also, so patients get their governance? Do you have some policy idea about that?
Well, I think the main thing that we have to focus on is there has to be a transparency and understanding exactly what the total cost of the services are going to be. So you mentioned Medicare earlier. Medicare is probably the most transparent of any of our healthcare systems to tell the provider how much money they will receive for a service. And then also the patient will exactly know how much they have to pay and what their copay is going to be. Now, what happens when you're not in Medicare and you're in private insurance? The hospitals publish what their price is, or what they refer to as a charge master. And the government now has made specific rules and regulations, and this is going to go into effect in about 6 months, that every hospital has to provide the cost that they are charging patients for each individual procedure. But where it becomes murky is that if you are an employee of a company and you have a healthcare insurer, that insurer negotiates with that hospital and comes up with a negotiated rate with that procedure. And you don't know exactly what that hospital is being paid by that insurance company. And then you may have an insurance company like United or Anthem or Blue Cross Blue Shield. There are different tiers that you can sign up for with an Anthem or United or Blue Cross Blue Shield. So you may have a better insurance policy than I do. So even though we're both Anthem, I'll pick on Anthem, you may have a negotiated cost for a service, and you may pay less than I do. So therefore, that's when we get into these, if you will, unexpected bills. That's where we see things like, well, I didn't know I had to pay this co-insurance, or I didn't know I had to pay this copay, or how does this kind of integrate with my deductible? Or I didn't know I was going to be getting a separate bill. So that's when we get into this very murky area, which is unfortunately unique for healthcare in the United States.
But there is a law passed, a surprise bill, no surprise act. Can you explain that a little bit? So it kind of pushing towards the transparency side, no surprise act. What is that act, Dr. Mukherjee?
Right. So what we talked about just now was, in a way, unexpected bills. So that's not a surprise bill. That's an unexpected bill. So I want to clarify there's between a surprise bill and an unexpected bill. What we talked about was a bill where you bought your Ferrari, and then all of a sudden you find out you have to pay for the tires of your car, even though you paid for the wheels of the car. Those are what I would say unexpected bills. But what surprise billing is the following. And let me give you a scenario. So for years, I was at University of Michigan, and I had a great healthcare system. It was fantastic. They had subspecialists and primary care doctors, and anytime I needed care, I could go to the University of Michigan. I had my insurance. I would get my care there, and I had to pay $0 copay. I never had to pay anything because I received all of my care within that system. Now, because it's a big system, they have a subspecialist 24 hours by 7 that can provide heart care. They have ER physicians that they hire. They have subspecialty radiologists. They have everything. Okay. Now, let's look at a different scenario. Let's just say you're living in, I'll pick on Idaho, or we're in the elections here. Let's say you're in Iowa. It's a pretty rural area. And, some of these smaller areas, these less urban areas, cannot afford to have hospitals that have 24/7 coverage in every area of a hospital. So but they probably cannot, a 200-bed hospital cannot hire an anesthesiologist 24 hours a day to work their hospital. They cannot hire ER physicians that work for them 24/7. So what they end up doing, Ramana, is that they work with these physician staffing firms, and I've worked with one of these firms below, so I have direct experience with this, that actually can provide anesthesia services or radiology services or emergency room services to 150 to 400 bed hospitals that just don't have the resources to hire their own employees. So what happens is the following, is that, let's just say, Ramana, you live in I'll pick on Iowa again, okay? You live in Iowa and you need to go to that hospital, and you go to the emergency room because you hurt your arm, okay? You go to the emergency room and your insurance company has a contract with that hospital, so you can be seen in that hospital and have your x-ray done, and you can have the nursing services done, etc. But on the other hand, the doctor that's being taking care of you is not employed by that hospital. That doctor that's taking care of you is being supplied by a separate physician staffing firm. So remember I said earlier that insurance companies negotiate with a hospital and they have a lower negotiated rate. But what ends up happening is that the insurance company has not negotiated a lower rate for the doctor that's taking care of you in the emergency room. So at the hospital level, where you walked in and you were seen and you were in the waiting area, that's negotiated. But the doctor that's taking care of you is in a separate system and they haven't been negotiated. So instead of getting a negotiated bill, you get this extremely high bill, and that's a surprise. And that's what's meant by surprise billing.
I didn't know this. I've been in healthcare long time. It is a surprise to me, even this kind of a explanation. Thank you for so much. That is a well done explanation. I didn't know that.
So
The staffing company can create this kind of a surprise bills. So there is an act now that came in, right? What is the act does?
So what the act does is that the fancy term for this is something called in-network and out-of-network. So let me use the example I did for University of Michigan. Okay, so when I was at University of Michigan, all of my care was performed through University of Michigan. So I was quote unquote in network because I had all of my care done at University of Michigan. I was in network, and therefore my costs were very low. But let's just say I was at University of Michigan and I decided to go to Henry Ford Hospital, or if I decided to go to William Beaumont Hospital, because that was outside of my network, that's called out of network. And I would know up front that if I went to William Beaumont or Henry Ford, I was going outside of University of Michigan, and I would have to pay a higher price to have my care done there. But I knew that. I knew that for sure, because instead of turning left, I'm turning right, and I know which hospital I'm going to. But when you go to a smaller, especially smaller hospitals, you don't have the knowledge to determine whether your physicians are in network or out of network. The facility that you're going to is in network, but the physicians that are taking care of you are out of network. So that's why you receive that surprise bill. So what the government is now doing by the No Surprises Act is that in situations where you have anesthesia, when you're having surgery done, your surgeon may be in network, but the anesthesiology may be out of network, and you won't know that. So you get this huge surprise bill. Same thing with the emergency room physicians, and I can go down. So now there are specific regulations, and it depends on the federal level and the state level, but you can adjudicate these, and sometimes they can be gone to arbitration. And some states actually have specific caps that you have to pay at a certain level. So, now if they're out of network, they just can't send you a bill and say you have to pay this. You have no choice, because now this is being regulated at the state level and the government level. And that's the basis for the No Surprise Act.
Modern education, you are truly professional. You have I'm going to present a topic on your person actually fits for this polymath physician. Polymath physicians is the people who have a varied background and diverse background. You studied economics and you're doing a policy now. It is really, that's what that requires to solve the problems, the complexity of the healthcare. That's why I would suggest in the future, the physicians should be like polymath physicians, and you have a varied backgrounds. Let me present that topic. Both of us, you can comment anytime, Dr. Mukherjee. It is a truly an honor. It is a wonderful talking. And then I want you to see this polymath. You are absolutely one of those people. So let me present this, and then I will bring you into the both. We sit down in the bottom, and then we can look at it. Just again, yeah. Okay, very good. This is about, I'm going to do the polymath physician. What is the polymath physicians of the future? The future, we are going backwards or past. So that's what it is. The polymath physicians is, we're going to the older time in the 10th century. Polymath physicians are big. We may need them back in the future, like Dr. Mukherjee, in fact. So this is a, let me bring this 1 second, if you don't mind. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I'm bringing a little bit of so polymath physicians is basically the people with a different background in physics. They know medicine, they know astronomy, botany, philosophers. They did everything actually. So that is polymath physicians are, they have a lot of background. They're doctors. But in this place now, in this presentation, I'm focusing on polymath physicians, the doctors who had a very varied background. They are doctors by profession, but they did other things. I'm going to present those people for you. So that is the topic of this one. See why we need them. So there is lots of them. I see that from the past to the present. I'm going to give you the polymath physicians. So focusing on physicians only this time. So let me talk about the person I want to talk with you about. I thought there are 150 physicians, head of the states in the world, actually became head of the states from 19th century to 20th century. We don't have too many now, but one time Chinese premier was a doctor. That Brazil and Australia, they have a lot of doctors in the states now. Some of the congressmen are doctors. One of the person from my state is a doctor, so he's a congressman. So there is a lot of policymakers or doctors now, but not like, still we need a lot more than them. So that is the topic. So actually I want to talk with one of the, we cannot ignore. This is the one we need to talk with. This first one is like a gods of polymath. His name is Ibn Sina. He's from Iran. Avicenna is called him in the Western world. He was born in the 10th century, 980 and 980 almost. So he was a 10th century physician. They call him Amir. Amir means Prince of Physicians. He's called Einstein of medicine. He is a truly Einstein of medicine. He's a physician, he's an astronomer, he is a medical author, and he is a philosopher. He is a combination of all those things. Unbelievable background he has. He's a physician's physician in my view. That's why they call him Amir. Amir is a physician's physician. He wrote first book in 10th century. He wrote a first book on the cardiac diseases. Kitab Advait al-Qulub, this book on cardiac diseases. He wrote a book in 10th century. He's the first cardiologist. He used the calcium channel blockers on the Zernab is a English yew tree, where he grew up in Iran. He was born in Iran, where the English yew tree is very common tree. It's a very poisonous tree, but he take the fruits are very sweet. He extracted the Zernab, and then is basically the fruit things that he mixed it together. He used to give them as a calcium channel blockers. Calcium channel blockers are, I don't have to explain, Dr. Suresh Mukherji. So because the calcium ion is blocking the calcium ions going into the heart or the blood vessel walls, because it gets stiffened up. That's why we get heart attacks and coronary heart diseases and all these things. So you need to block the calcium ions to get into it. So this, you use a natural medicine before synthetic drugs came in. Used a Zernab, a medicine, used it. So he understood the calcium channel blockers. He also he was inventor of the lie detector test. Can you believe this? So he used to talk with the girl. There is a guy who used to come down there. He could tell where his girlfriend is staying. He's a master of pulsology. He's watching the pulsology. Read me all the street names of your girlfriend living, all the streets in your town. You keep on reading it. You can tell which street the girlfriend is staying. Immediately his heart rate went up. So he can blood pressure went up. He could say that is the street. So he was a lie detector test. He's originator of the lie detector test. He's a fascinating physician. So Avicenna is also an astronomer. He discovered the planet Venus. He discovered it. He is the one that discovered planet Venus. So we don't know at the time even the planets are very limited knowledge we have. He invented the tripod. That's surprising to all of us. He was the inventor of the tripod. He was an engineer also. He knows how to do, because he wants to look at the Venus. So he invented the tripod system. Just amazing. He is Avicenna, Ibn Sina. They call him in Iran. They call him Ibn Sina. He wrote a book, a Canon of Medicine, 6 volumes, thousands of years, 1,000 years. His books are standard in the Western world. Everybody read his books. All the medical students have to go through his knowledge. He was 1,000 years. From 1,000 years, he was a predominantly main force in the industry, in the medical author. Canon of Medicine is a 6 volumes. He also did that's why United Nations put this thing together. United Nations put this prize on he did a extensive work on ethics, actually, medical ethics. So they gave him a science ethics prize, Avicenna prize, for the United Nations instituted a prize called Avicenna ethics prize, science prize. So he is now Avicenna is a philosopher. I tell you how that philosopher came in. He's a scientific. Albert Einstein, what he said, that if you are free falling on the thing, you don't know the gravity. It doesn't exist. When you're in a free fall in space, gravity is not there. Then it is actually, you don't know the difference between which way you're going. You were lost the reference of frame. At that time, what he thought, Avicenna came up with a brilliant idea. Then he thought about that you're self-aware of yourself. There must be a reason. There must be a reason to soul to exist. So he gave a brilliant explanation, a scientific Albert Einstein principle of equivalence. That's if you drop a hammer or in the moon, they dropped a hammer and a feather. They hit the ground same time. You know that? And that's a principle of equivalence, gravity. When there is the absence of gravity, that you feel the soul. That's what he came up with. It's a brilliant idea. That's called self-awareness. He was saying that when you don't have the frame of reference, still you can feel that there must be a consciousness as to exist. So he is one of those brilliant philosophers. Then I'm going to go back and forth to modern people, and actually that Suresh Mukherji should be there. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I used to bump into Sanjay Gupta there, and Sanjay Gupta's classmate. So Sendal, hello, he's a radiologist also. So they're all Sanjay Gupta. He became he's a neurosurgeon, and then he became into he was now he is a CNN anchor. CNN is a doctor for CNN. He does a lot of medical shows. He also writes books. Chasing Life is a philosophy he talks about. So I think Sanjay Gupta is one of the guys in the modern way you can compare him to the modern polymath. The one is that I love is a Ji Hong. He is actually 3rd century physician. He is interesting. He is a physician, author, military general. He loved books so much. He used to invade the neighboring countries to get the books, the libraries. He wants to get the books from the neighboring states, and he wanted to invade them. He was a general, and then he was a physician, and then he invented the malaria drug, artemisinin. Malaria drug. He used to give I forgot the name of the Chinese name, Huashang or something like that. It's a Chinese scrub. He used to warm it up, and he used to give to the malaria patients. They used to reduce the fever, intermittent. He doesn't know the name of the malaria. He used to call intermittent fevers. That's why he used to give medicine. So actually, there is a scientist in the Mao time, during the Mao regime, there is a lot of people are dying with the malaria during the particularly Vietnam War. So Mao doesn't want to lose the war. For Chinese are supporting the North Vietnam, so he doesn't want North Vietnam to lose the war, because a lot of people his soldiers are dying with the malaria. So he instituted a scientific team. One of the team members is a Tu Yu. She's still alive. She's 100 years old. She was instituted that Tu Yu actually extracted from the Ji Hong book. She read the traditional Chinese medicine, and then she got the artemisinin compound. Now they gave the compound still being used for malaria treatment. Is one of the combo drugs they use. So she won the Nobel Prize. Actually, a non-physician won the Nobel Prize in medicine. She is the Dr. Tu Yu, her name. She's a Chinese woman, traditional woman. She gave a credit to Ji Hong. He is the one who was giving these things. He doesn't know the compounds, but that he was a general. He was writing children's books. He's an interesting guy. So he's a very philosopher, and then also he was really wanted to serve people. He was the governor of a state or some. He was a very important figure, a noble figure in China, but he went to a remote place and then started practicing and seeing people. He is a really, truly physician to the definition of physician he is. So the Ji Hong is 3rd century. Then we have a Sushruta from India. He's a plastic surgeon. Can you believe that? The 3rd century plastic surgeon is 1,000 years before Christ. 1,000 years before Christ, he was a plastic surgeon. He was doing operations on the cliff. Rhinoplasty. He was doing, then in a Vedic scholar, he wrote a lot of books on Vedas, and then and he conducted entrance examinations. 1,000 years before, the people used to come to Cambodia, Tibet, China. They used to come to Sushruta school. He instituted a school. You see his instruments. Actually, all his work is displayed in the Los Angeles Museum of Art. I don't know how they got it, but very interesting. So we got to find out why he got those things. So Los Angeles Museum of Art got these things. See that instruments, Dr. Mukherji can probably testify that the instruments are not that far from nowadays. It's more sophisticated, but he really had a lot of instruments on the left side, you see, for surgeries. it's a fascinating from 1,000 years before Christ was born. That is, you're saying something, Doctor?
No.
Yeah, okay. So Sushruta was one of the. Then he is my another favorite guy of mine. Is a party kind of guy. Girolamo Cardano is an Italian physician. He is an Italian physician. He was in the 17th century, 1600. He was a drinker, alcoholic in the every sense. He is a philosopher, physician, mathematician, and a prolific gambler. He is a gambler. He used to, when I say he's a professional gambler, because he used to win these games. So what he wrote he invented the combination lock in the right side that we are all using nowadays. He was the first inventor of the combination lock in the 1600s. Then on the left side, cubic equation. What is a cubic equation? A cubic equation is, if you wanted to go to even today, the Newton has to use that. Newton used it in the 1600s. Same time Newton gave the usual calculus. Cubic equation solutions are very complex. So if you want to go to the moon, the rocket has to follow the cubic equations. Now if you wanted to reconstruct the two-dimensional path to 3 dimensions, the missing dimension, that you have to use the cubic equation. He found all the solutions for the cubic equation. He became a prolific mathematician. He was he's the inventor. Cardano method is still being used. His method of solving the cubic equation is still being used. There's a big story. If you have a time, go and read it. It's like a spy novel. How he did that. The cubic equation solutions. He's a brilliant physician. Every royal wanted him as a physician. But he's doing mathematics. He loved it. He's a probability theory. He wrote the first game theory. You're all talking about game theories now in Silicon Valley. He is the first guy who invented the game theory. In fact, he learned from a Leonardo da Vinci. His father used to work with the Leonardo da Vinci, so Leonardo da Vinci was teaching him. He is a crazy guy. So they didn't give him a license. So like a J1 doctors, he didn't get the license in Milan. So he went to the small town to practice because he's drinking too much. They gave him a place for a small town in Italy. He is his son he's a drug addict and all those things, and he had a lot of problems. It's a really fascinating story about Girolamo Cardano. He is a true physician. He loved mathematics and still was practicing medicine. He was constantly practicing medicine. Girolamo Cardano's method in the cubic equation, even they use it even now. Cardano, in the universities, they teach Cardano's method for solving the cubic equations, which is the equation that all the motions, all the missing dimensions, you have to do through the cubic equation. So the next one is, I tell you, is Dr. Bill Frist. Of course, everybody knows a little bit. He is a Senate Majority Leader. He is a thoracic surgeon. He was in Vanderbilt. He's from Nashville. I used to follow him. He has a now podcast. He does a lot of. I interacted with him quite a bit during the pandemic. He was a really true voice during the pandemic. During the AIDS, he did the PEPFAR. He's the AIDS emergency fund. It's a $110 billion fund. It's the largest fund you ever get for a single disease. It saved the world, actually. So Dr. Bill Frist is one of the pioneering. He's the chair of the Climate Nature Conservancy chair. He is a former Senate Majority Leader. The next is René Lénac. He's very interesting. He's from France. He's French. What he was invented the stethoscope. You know that. How he was a musician. He had a band. He was playing a flute player. He was a flute player. That he got the idea during the summer one time in the Indonesian mountain blew up. The volcano is covered. There is a 1726 around that time. It's called Year Without a Summer. It's blanketed entire the Europe. During the time they have a lot of respiratory diseases. So there is a lot of women used to come to see him, but he doesn't want to put his ear next to the heart. or breast to the patient. So what he did was he got the idea from the flute. Then he invented the first stethoscope. He is the inventor of the stethoscope. So he is the wood carver. He is actually, he is a professional. He's a doctor. He is carving the wood. He is a physician. He's a carpenter. So think about that, how we expanded mind can do that, these kind of things. Then, there's a revolutionary guy. This guy, Ernesto Che Guevara, is from Hispanic revolutionary from Argentina. He's a physician. He's a revolutionary guy of some. He's a really problematic guy. He was killed by U.S. forces at the end, but he was a minister in the Cuba. He's a really bit of a troubling past for that. But I want to mention that there are good people and bad people. He has the good and bad both sides. He was felt for the leprosy colony. He spent a lot of time in San Pablo leprosy colony. He's a rich guy. He's from a very aristocratic family, but he went there and he used the violence against people. That was the little bit of a bad things he did. So it is not well known in the US. He has killed him, and he was assassinated by. But this guy is the most favorite of mine. He is a physics. He is a physician. He got an MD from University of Berkeley, from here, San Francisco. He got an MD. Then he's still alive. He's almost 98 years old. He's still alive. He came up with he was a physics professor in the University of Vermont. He was a doctor. He's a professor of signal. He was teaching in the University of Vermont. He was teaching signal processing. He was a Santa Fe Institute. It's kind of an institute, came from New Mexico. It is kind of a institute. They wanted people to think, all the intellectuals to think outside of the box. He was one of the members there. So what he came up with is that he came up with a very brilliant theory. One theory was that emergent systems, that what he's saying is that the Darwinian processes is slowly the genes and everything finds out the right systems and slowly progress into the right fit for survival of the fittest. But he says not. He says that actually there is when the heart was born, when the heart was invented, it found a new function. When it found a new function, it became the new process. It's not it's a radical emergency. Radical emergent system. It's not just emergent system. It is a radical emergent system. It's kind of a different than a Darwinian system. He's saying self-organization is the key. Once their function was a new function was found out, they can use it, and then it becomes a part of the evolution. That's what he's saying. It's a very different. He's saying is the evolutionary system. Self-organization is somehow there's a tractor. There is a self-organization process there in the universe. It's embedded part of the self-organizing principle. Is something, all the blue balls come close together, red balls go together. It's kind of a self-organization. So self-organization is one of the strong proponents of self-organization. He was actually United Nations invited him to talk about economics. He was teaching mathematics. He was talking about physics. He is a physician. Also, he spent in Finland. He was a professor in a lot of places. He's still alive. And then he gave a theory of mind philosophy that he was consciousness comes from a quantum thinking of mind. Quantum thinking means a frequency that our the tubules, microtubules, it's something, it's quantum phenomena happens in the microtubules. So there is a consciousness, emergence of the consciousness. That's what he says. That he's a very interesting guy. His name is Stuart Kaufman, very, very still alive. He's the only guy still alive among all the other doctors there from the 1930s. Dr. Eric Topol, these are the physicians now. Eric Topol is a cardiologist. He's a genesis for digital health. I remember when he was talking about, he's in my contacts. Dr. Eric Topol is always the first guy who talked about digital health before anybody talked about digital health. Khalid Hussain is an Afghani physician. He is based here right in San Jose. He's a professor now in Santa Clara University. He doesn't practice medicine anymore. He wrote a book. Kite Runner is one of the biggest runaway hit. He was one of the books he wrote is called Kite Runner. Khalid Hussain Now he's a full-time novelist. He wrote a lot of books, and then his Kite Runner actually was made from films. He was on his screenwriter also. He did that. Now these are the new ones. They're still alive. There's a Priyanka Wali is Indian. I attended one of your comedian show in the RP convention, Indian Association Doctors Convention. Priyanka Wali is a comedian now. She's a doctor. She is connected with me. And then Elvis Francios is from Haitian descent, but Miami guy. He's R&B singer. He won a lot of competitions. In fact, R&B singer is a spine surgeon. So they're all coming up. So Dr. Suresh Mukherji is no less. Yeah, he should be there. So Elizabeth Cord is a new millennial young people, Gen Z. Elizabeth Cord is a new millennial polymath physician. But she was a visual artist. She's a painter. And Vidya Viswanathan, she's a pediatrician. She's a Chinese historian. So the wide variety of backgrounds gives some new perspective to solve the problems that Dr. Suresh Mukherji is talking about. Economics. He understood policy and economics. Now he came up with the understanding the process of all that stuff, complicated process of healthcare delivery system. So why genetic? They say there is a gene. It's called a DRD4 7R gene. It codes a protein DRD4 receptor 7R receptor. A protein codes a special way. Those people who have that gene may be prone to be a polymaths. It is a genetic explanation. It doesn't mean necessarily that you need to have a genetics. You need to have of course, you need to have a environment, nurturing, nature. All of them has to be important. But they found out a gene is a big issue is a big thing in the mental health area. Gene for DRD4-7R is basically a special variant of the DRD4, which codes the dopamine receptors. It codes a special dopamine receptor. Is called DRD4-7R receptor, a special protein that creates a curiosity. It's a unending curiosity. People like me and Dr. Mukherji would like to learn more and more. It is a problem sometimes. You don't make a lot of millions of dollars. You would have been a billionaire if you use that whatever the limited. Then use the knowledge. But they are curious. They want to learn more and more. As a mental health is a big thing. Longevity, people who have a polymath, this gene, they live longer than other people. That's what they say. But why? What is a future polymath physician has to do? What they need to learn? I give you an example. One thing that they need to learn. This is the three things I suggest to learn. I wanted to offer classes if they want to do in March 30th. Actually, I'm going to bring the experts in this area. I will explain you three things that you need to be future polymath. Really solve the healthcare delivery problems, healthcare systems. You want to solve, you need to be future polymath. You need to learn all these following three. What is a care journey? Care journey is a journey of the patient, journey of the physician. What is steps day to day you do every step? I give you an example. Care journey. One example is patient. The people see patients. They come for an X-ray. So they say write a prescription X-ray. They go through, but you don't know what that patient went through before coming to your X-ray room, because she needs to find a transportation, and she cannot drive. She may not have money for Uber. Or even if she knows, if she has the money for Uber, she may not know how to use it, the Uber app. All these problems are not paid attention. Care journey should understand that problem is a social determinants, is a very important. Now the future physicians has to understand the journey of the patient. There is a lot of money too, because you're navigating entire life of that patient. It's a huge amount of investment you're doing. So there's a returns there. It's a care journey. I give you an example. One example is very good example of care journey. You solve the problem. We have a doctor, one Alabama doctor writing on that one, that he wants to bring a patient. It's a rural area in Alabama, and the patient has no transportation. There is a new system. Actually, that was a system it's created. Is it's called time banking. Time banking is you take some other patient from his clinic and say, Mrs. Smith, can you pick up Mrs. Darden for to bring her here? You can deposit that time, and somebody else return that favor to you the same amount of time. It's called time banking. One of the presidential candidate, Yang Chen, or he did that last time. He was proposing this time banking system. So care journey, understanding the care journey, you may come up with the solutions for the problem. You may not solve all the social problems, but you may solve some of the problems. So you have to understand care journey of the patient, care journey of the family, care journey of your own mental health and everything. You need investment on your own. A lot of doctors are burnout. So that is a care journey of yours. You need to pay attention. This is a very important. You need to step right in. There is a tools available, user experience available that you can. We are going to bring experts in March 30th and teach you on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm going to send you. Anybody is interested you can join. I will publish it that event later on. The next is patient privacy. Why need a patient privacy is important. So patient privacy, everybody knows you need to be important. But what are the people have a misunderstanding of the privacy? They think anybody can break in, anybody can. There is a mathematical function. It's called a blockchain. Blockchain is immutable. You cannot break it. It is immutability of the fundamental aspect of the blockchain is immutability. That means it's a mathematical hash functions are solid. You have to really go through. You have to lie. Everybody has to lie around you in the to make it something wrong. What is the effects that Sam Friedman did? That's a different. He is not using the blockchain. Is the end of the blockchain that when you convert them into, they're using fraud. Blockchain is a mathematically solid mechanism. Mathematics is unbreakable. The privacy. So you have to understand how the blockchain works. So instead of we have doubts about privacy that somebody can break in, you need to understand the immutability of the blockchain. Blockchain is extremely powerful technology. Technology is a mathematical. Actually, is a mathematics. It's a mathematical science. So that is immutability. The third one is pain. I will talk about the pain. Why? In India, Dr. Suresh Mukherji can tell us, people sleep on the nails and they don't feel pain. they stay on these sadhus and these munis, and these are the saints, monks. They sleep on the nails and they don't feel pain. So the pain, the manifestation at the end of the diseases is a cultural. It's a social, cultural, financial. It's all things together. So you're observing the patient. When a patient walks in, that's where there is no computer can solve that problem. Only doctor can see that. You have to connect to your observer. He is observed, and then return. He is observing you. The observer and observer relationship in physics is extremely important. That's where the quantum consciousness comes in the picture. Observer and observer is a quantum phenomenon. That's quantum physics talks about that. Because double-slit experiment tells you quantum phenomena about that observer and observability is a huge debate. So you're not only just giving the physical medicine, but observing and observed is a science behind it. Okay, so thank you, Doctor. Let me bring Dr. 1 second. Dr. Suresh Mukherji is leaving. I want to bring him 1 second. He's leaving for to pick up a daughter. So Dr. Mukherji, thank you. It's so much honor for me to have you. It is a truly an honor, and give me excellent compliment. I cannot thank you enough for joining with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Ramana. Beautiful presentation too. I was looking up some of those individuals. It's really very, very impressive. So thanks for educating me and sharing that knowledge with me. It gives me more to think about.
Thank you, sir. It's truly an honor and privilege to have you. You are welcome to the MedBricks anytime. you come back and talk about the healthcare policies. We want to have a special session on that one day, full hour. Let us talk about that. Thank you so much, sir.
Sounds great. All right.
Okay,
Goodbye.
let me complete my task of this thing. So, thank you, sir. Thank you. So he's going to leave. I let him go. And that's the three things you need to learn. And then that is the most important you can learn. And the these are the future physicians, the requirement is. So thank you for joining. Actually, I'm done. So physicians of the future is that your learning driven by curiosity, not by necessity. That is must be the goal of the physicians. You need to learn, and once more, it's much easier. I'm in Silicon Valley. It's much easier to learn other things than IT people learning in medicine. Trust me about that. I know the both sides of the coin a little bit. So physicians who need to expand their ideas about that things, learning more knowledge, just understanding the other areas would help you accelerate the process of healthcare delivery system, healthcare solutions. Thank you for joining. I'm truly an honor. Thank you. He has to go and pick up his daughter. So she's an IT, so she knows. So thank you, Dr. Mukherjee. This is truly an honor. You stayed until the end almost. So it is. Let me come back. And so, guys, thank you for joining. It is a truly, is a long, nowadays my session is going more than an hour. I'm going to cut it out as much as I can, but it is a very interesting topics. I want to talk about that. And so please, physicians, March 30th, I'm going to offer a class. I'm going to publish on my LinkedIn and Facebook, and anybody wants to learn, I bring the three experts. One is user experience expert. The other one is a blockchain expert. Third one is that consciousness. Talk about consciousness. Maybe Dr. Alexander will come back and talk about that. So I'm going to bring three experts in talking about. I have a good friend, Diana Landonio. She is also very good in talking about the consciousness part of it. She is a healer of the pranic healing, and we can talk. We can listen to her probably. So this is the thing that doctors need to expand new ideas, new areas. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate joining me. See you soon. Tomorrow is going to be exciting. Monday to Friday, MedBix podcast. Thank you. And then I have a t-shirt you can buy. First cardiologist, Yavisana t-shirt. You can buy a lot of other t-shirts. You can go to my website. I'm going to play that. Thank you.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.